Ethiopia remains one of the largest refugee hosting countries on the continent, and large refugee populations include South Sudanese in the Gambela region. They include Somali refugees in the Somali region of Ethiopia, Eritrean refugees in the Tigray, but also in Afar. The refugees have been directly as well as indirectly affected by the conflict, putting lives at risk, protection at risk, violating rights, but also taking away lives and livelihoods that people who had fled persecution and conflict, who had found protection and solutions opportunities in Ethiopia, who have been again affected.
I saw a report that the number of IDPs in 2021 as a world record of displacement in a single year. Is that correct? And if so, what are the numbers, and really what are the challenges these people are facing within the country?
The numbers of internally displaced persons has indeed increased significantly. And I would say behind each one of these numbers, you have a family, you have an individual, people who have been affected by the situation. You find them in Afar, you find them in Amhara, you find them in Tigray, Benishangul, in Oromia. So in the Somali region. These are all regions I have visited, and I can say to you that their needs range from access to documentation to basic needs, support, shelter, and living, but also the ultimate, I would say, need for these groups, in addition to the impact also of the drought and additional effect affecting the lives, particularly in Afar and Somali regions. So the ultimate need is really peace and solutions in their areas of origin. As UNHCR and as part of the United Nations Humanitarian Country team, these are the efforts we deploy, and we also work in tandem with development organizations. Things take time, the needs are still many, dire. You spoke about millions, and I can say to you that, again, in several areas, the numbers keep growing.
The other issue, I think, has been funding. Funding has been an issue for many humanitarian workers and organizations. And what really makes that a challenge, and how is that affecting your assistance, especially since IDPs don't receive the same attention as refugees who cross borders?
When it comes to UNHCR in particular, we are only at 19% of our overall need to support the refugees and IDPs we have in this generous country. And as you can imagine, we are already mid of the year. And if you are only at 19%, you can imagine the limited level of support that you are providing the refugees and the internally displaced persons, and the impact of that on risk to child protection, the risk to gender-based violence. It is absolutely vital to get the right support, the right amount of support. We know that donors are doing their best. We know that the needs are many across the continent, but also globally. But I would say it will be a failure from all of us if we do not support much better the refugees and internally displaced persons in this country.
19% is a very low number given the situation, and in addition to the conflict, as the drought keeps increasing, a lot of people are getting displaced, especially in Somalia and Oromia region. So if the amount of funding you are requiring is not met, what's going to happen?
The impact is again on the physical conditions of the persons themselves. It's on the protection risk of people going and selling their bodies. It's about risk of persons being trafficked but also onward movement outside of Ethiopia, outside the regions where they are finding themselves in. These are mostly youth in times when they need access to education, access to livelihoods, and to contributing to their own societies.